Welcome to Blade K-Ace, where I try to give you some A to B, simple information, and try to be to the point. Now, I'm going to have a quick talk about a put option, how selling a put option, which is probably the simplest way of making some money in the markets with options. And if you're starting off and you haven't got much money, you wouldn't necessarily start with a stock like Apple here, because it's worth quite a bit. It's worth $143, and every option is 100 stocks. So you'd have to multiply that by 100. That'd be 14300, so 14 grand. If you get caught up and you have to own 100 stock of Apple because of an option. So if you're starting off and you haven't got much capital and you're learning and you don't want to make too many mistakes, you might want to start off with something like Ford, for instance. One of their stock is $13, so times 100, that'd be 1,300. Do you see what I mean? So let's go back to Apple, and let's say you're selling a put option. By the way, I'm using Tastyworks here, but and this is a live account, but you might want to be using a paper trade account to practice, like Interactive Brokers provides. So let's say you want to sell a put option. So short means sell, long means buy. So I'm going to sell a put option. So you go bang, go for it. And the current strike price of Apple is 143, right? Now let's say I just want to collect the premium, and I'm not interested in actually buying the stock. If I was interested in buying the stock, I could sell this option for $2.80 per stock, right? Now remember, options are in lots of 100. So that would actually, if you have a look at here, max profit, that actually mean 280 that you would collect, right? So if you were wanting to actually own it, you could sell this option really close to the strike price at 142 or even 143, and you get $315. So you'll get paid to buy it essentially. But let's say you don't want to own Apple, you just want to profit from selling some options. So if you see with any platform that you use, it'll calculate standard deviations. If you know mathematics, see these red lines? These red lines here is the estimated deviation this stock will have over the next 15 days. And you can see the expiry here. I've got 15 days expiry. Now I could extend the expiry. Let's go 22 days. You can see the standard deviation here is at 133. If I increase the expiry, the standard deviation is at 130. Should be more, but it's less. Let's go to oh no, it's 130. Yeah, that's right. It's wider. That's right. So let's go 45 days. Let's go 43 days, and you see the standard deviation. It's expected it could move as far as 128 over that time. Now, if you're practicing in a practice account, you might want to select something like, well, something shorter like 8 days, just to see what happens. But yeah, let's say you did have a good expiry range. If you had a proper real account, a good amount is about 45 days. If you look through Tastyworks research, That's one thing they found is 45 days is usually the best for chances for you. Now, let's say you're only looking to collect you don't want much risk and you just want to collect $100. So if you have a look at the chart, this is the price of the stock so far. So you might want to really reduce your risk of having to buy the stock, right? So you can see here it's had a bottom of about 128. So you might want to go as low as that. Um, or you want a bit more, you want to go for a bit more premium, collect a bit more, and maybe not go so low. Maybe you go as low as this little bottom here, so maybe 133. So back on your trading thing here, you can move the strike price down to, let's say, 133. And you'd see the premium you're collecting there is $255, right? Now, let's say you want to reduce your risk, you want to go wider. Now, you see the probability of, if you look at these probability numbers, probability of profit, probability, probability of profit 77%. So it's got 77% chance of staying within this range here that you're selecting, you see. So you might want to increase your probability of profit by moving, let's say you're only looking to collect $100. Let's see how far out you could move the strike, the put option to collect. Well, here you go. If you move it to, say, there's 120, there's 125. I wonder if there's any in between. So if we go to the table, should show, no, there's no in betweens. See, if you're looking to sell an option from 127 within the standard deviation, yeah, you can sell it at a dollar gap. But once it gets past this standard deviation, this line here, you see they're only selling them at $5 intervals, right? So you'll see that change in price. So this put option that you'd be selling here, and you can probably go for the mid price between the bid and ask. Okay, so if you look at the table here, the ask is 149, the bid's 125. So usually you can go somewhere in between. So we're going 137. It's like the buyer and the seller saying, the buyer is saying I want this much, the seller is saying I want this much, and you can put your price there. So if you're looking to collect about $100, well, here we have 43-day expiration. You'd be getting $137. The buying power reduction would be, you would need to do this, $1,262. Now, remember I said this is a $143 stock. Ideally, what you need, remember, times 100 is 14,000. Let's just round it off, right? 14,000. But if you're in an account like this, usually the exchange will put up half. So you won't need 14,000, you'd need 7,000. So although this says 1,000, 1,200 buying power, how much you need in an account, always know what you're doing. Don't go by what the exchange is telling you and realize that you could end up having to buy 100 of these. And if you've got a margin account where the exchange gives you half of the stock buying power, then you know you're going to need 7 to be safe, 8 grand to back you up to get this amount, you see. So you go So the strike price here is 125. If you look at the chart, 125 is way down here. So what are the chances of it getting down there in the next 45 days? Probability is about 11% chance. Because you've got 89% chance it'll stay in that. Do you see? Now, let's say you did want to trade Apple and you did want to collect $100, but you haven't got 14 grand to back yourself up. That's all right. As well as selling a put, what you can do, buy yourself a put. So you'd be buying one and selling one. So now, all you need to trade this, let's see if this is right. Let's go review. Now, depending on the gap you put here, so the smaller this gap, so let's say 120, actually let's go to the table to make it easier. Oh, the different expiries. Oops, let's make sure they're the same expiry. There we go. So we put them close together like that with just a $5 gap difference, you see. So the difference between the one you're selling and the one you're buying is $5. 5 times 100 is 500. So you need $500 to do this trade. Why is it 448? Because you're collecting $52. So 500 take away 52, you need 448. You see that? Now, remember, you're trying to collect $100 on Apple, but you only got 52 here. Well, what you could do, just double your contracts. So now you've got 2 contracts. At 52 each, your profit's 104, and your buying power or your risk is 896. You see? Because you need $1,000 for the $5 difference. 5 times 100 is 500 times 2 contracts, right? Gives you $1,000 debit, but you're collecting 104. 52 times 204 leaves you with 896 risk. You see? So what you could do, you could buy that. You could, and as soon as you go, you send the order in, you will get $104 in your account straight away. And then if you leave it there until expiry, you will have that money. But if you let it go past 125 here, you will have to pay. If you have a look at the little info tab up the top here, you'll have to pay 896 if it gets around here. But if it gets around somewhere in between, you can see how the bottom number 347, see how I'm moving and it's changing, 355. Now, if you get to expiry and it doesn't go past this point, you get $104. But what you could do is if you put this on and it starts to move that way, you'll have time expire. So you'll start off with $104 credit, and then it'll go down. And to buy it back, it'll cost you, like if you sold it now for 104, if you bought it back instantly, it'll cost you 104 to buy it back. But over time, it'll cost you less to buy it back, you see. So after a few days, it might cost you only 90 to buy it back, 80, 70, 60 to buy it back. And you can keep the difference, 40 to buy it back. And you can keep the 60. So if it starts to go down here, you can just buy it back for however much and just keep the difference of the profit, you see. So that's how you can control it. And to avoid having a big jump catch you out here, that's where you need to study the graph and you need to look at the jumps that it makes. I find the jumps are no more than about 5%. So this is, let's say $150 stock, say 15 for 10%. Every 7.5 points for 5%. Now you see this big jump here. The lowest point there is 142, and you see this one over here. The highest point is 140. So that's only a 2 point difference between the one end of this day and the other end of this day. So you see, even if you have that 5% buffer, you'd still be all right there. If you looked at it one day and you saw the big jump, then you could make an adjustment and sell off. So there you go. I hope that helps. Send me some questions. Cheers.